Tell us what the recommendations or the solutions you recommend to people, what people should be doing, and what your plans are for being over in Mexico.
Well, maybe just to wrap a little bit what we were talking about 2012 and even all of this about the financial situation and the violence in Mexico. And, I believe that people need to lose the fear of dying. We need to lose the attachment and the apprehension that we have to this material Western way of living, and find at all costs our freedom, not our independence necessarily from systems and institutions. When I speak about freedom, I speak about the sovereignty of being, which means I bow to no one but to myself. I am not afraid of diving into the core and the depths of who I am to overcome my fears, so I can have a life that is fearless. Not reckless, but fearless.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's where true freedom lies. If people were to reclaim their own individual sovereignty, not the sovereignty of even a country or a land, but the individual, the self, well, that day, I believe we're going to see a new consciousness and a new society being formed. Because with all these changes and all what we've spoken about, which are maybe the changes and the death part and the chaos, that it's inevitable that it has to happen in order for a rebirth to occur. I believe that our mind does not have to be focused on that, but we need to look beyond that. We need to look beyond the death, and we need to look into the rebirth. What is what I want to see being born on planet Earth? What is what I want to see being born in my own family, in my own home, in my own human body? Do I want to make my body a host of illness, of disease, of anger, of fear, of envy, of depression? Or am I going to make my body a host of love, of peace, of harmony? So wherever I go, I become a portal of light and a place of rest for the souls around me. So I believe that any talk about changing consciousness or about what's happening financially or all we've just spoken about, we can wrap it up saying, yeah, but sovereignty of consciousness, sovereignty of being. If you can truly find that freedom within yourself, you'll find internal peace. And if you can find that place, then what would we have to fear? Tsunamis, yeah, bring them on. Financial crisis, bring them on. Rebirth, death, bring them on. It's okay. But as far as our attachments and our focus remains in external things, in my home, in the house, depending on the health system to be healthy, and on all those things, we are going to suffer the change. The change is not meant to be so. Evolution is meant to be a beautiful process of growth and renewal. So why have to focus on the dark side of it? And the only dark that I see in this change is our attention to wanting to hold on to what is dying, wanting to keep alive what actually needs to die. So practice detachment and finding whatever way it suits every human being. Some have found meditation, others find walking, find journaling, others find talking to beings outside of another galaxy. That's okay. Whatever works for every human being, that's fine. But let's walk towards our own individual freedom. And if we can take responsibility for only our own lives, for finding that sovereignty of our own hearts, that's enough. That's all we need. Because with that, we will create then the society that is free and sovereign in spirit. But it has to start within our own hearts. And that is the project that we have in Mexico, to create a place and to work closely with indigenous people in order to give people a place of rest and a place where they can, through different ways, experience or find what sovereignty means for them. The Chinese people and the whole idea of the I Ching, that is not a divination process. It's more like finding and learning to read the energies of the universe, so you know which way to go and which door to open, so you don't open the door where you're going to be shut, and you actually open the door where the waters are flowing. So I would agree with that, and I believe that, as you're saying, most people maybe find it difficult to find their path, but behind it all, what I have experienced in my life is that people are afraid of letting go. I believe that if you can reach a point in your life where instead of working really hard in creating a path or in following someone else's path, you just simply let go and surrender. If you surrender to the wisdom of the energies that are within us, of the universe, in that moment, nature knows what it is doing, and nature finds its balance. I think that most of the time we become the obstacle for our own evolution and happiness, more than the universe being against us. It's more us who are against ourselves, and sometimes we are blind, and a lot of the time we don't want to recognize that. I think there's a rush in regards to that. I think we are all definitely at the place that we are able to be consciously. There will always be existence or consciousness at all the different levels of the steps of the staircase of evolution. And for me, the journey into enlightenment or into this freedom is realizing that you can actually choose in which step you want to be in the staircase of evolution. So do you want to be at the bottom, or you want to move a few steps up or down? But there will always be beings at all the different levels of evolution. And this is not the only life we're going to live, but as we gain consciousness, we help each other. Because I believe that the core of indigenous wisdom, what our ancestors teach us, is that we are as much interconnected as separate. That the absolute reality is the oneness and the interconnection, and then the relative reality is the illusion of separation. This illusion of separation, we seem to be doing the journey only for ourselves. Let's say for Paola. Paola is having a journey, or is having an awakening, or Stephen or Alan. But really, every step that you have walked, that Alan has walked, that Stephen has walked, that I have walked, we have walked it for the whole of consciousness. We have imprinted the information of our own journey in the holographic universe. I normally ask people, knowing that you can actually type in information in the computer, in the software of the universe, what is the information that you're consciously going to type? Are you going to type hatred? Are you going to make an input into the computer about fear, about depression, about anger, about violence? Or is the input that this being that you are, is that input going to be one that's going to speak about love, about light, about healing, about peace?
Exactly.
What do you want it to be? I do believe that maybe in planet Earth, money, we become too uptight with the concept of money, and it's only energy. And in order for it to flow in a different way, well, the consciousness has to change. The consciousness behind it has to change. Ultimately, what we need to survive is not really money. The idea that we need money to survive, that's a Western approach. And as far as we are caught up and attached to that, well, greed and fear will keep ruling planet Earth. The energy vampires are no science fiction. It is real. And a lot of people feed from the energy of other beings. And it's about applying common sense. Are the people around you making you feel better, or are they making you feel worse? Are you dependent on them, or are they encouraging you to be free? And using that common sense, it's well then seek for the people who are going to make you free and who are going to empower you in everything you do. And the other people will create a distance. I had a teacher that he always said, when you meet a consciousness that is diseased with stupidity, which was what he used to describe as of people who tend to feed from others, then indifference, just walk away. Because this idea that we all must be radiant angels, irradiating beautiful love and light, and we are all going to be a beautiful and trusting society, well, that's a fantasy. All the different spectrums of consciousness and creation exist on planet Earth, in the universe, and in the spirit world. And that means everything from what we consider the light to what we consider the darkness exists within ourselves and outside from ourselves. So we need to be able to choose which spectrum of light, which color of light we want to vibrate at.
I'm kind of very interested in the fact, about this kind of change that's taken place, and I definitely agree with, the whole health thing, because there's a lot of people coming down with illnesses and sick over the last few weeks, if not a few months, as I said, and I don't know what the best thing for them would be to, is this the karma, or is this something else that's going on that we're not aware of? Is the karma affecting them?
I have to say, it is karma. It is always karma, because it means action, and karma meaning action. It just entails, it's not good or bad. It's just simply whatever existed before you created a wave, and so you're now the manifestation of that wave of previous actions. So from that perspective, yes, it is karma. Now, from another perspective, we do have to consider that we're going through a deep collective shift. So a lot of what we're experiencing is planetary, is global. And we're not isolated in what's happening to us. Apart from our own individual history and previous actions and consequences, we are experiencing the actions and consequences of the whole of humankind. And a lot of our children are being born with a lot of terrible chronic or congenital diseases or malformations out product of or as a consequence of the actions that we have created as a society as a whole. I believe that in this evolution, what nature is simply doing is following its own natural process of finding harmony and balance. So if we can allow our bodies to be simply channels to help balance the energy, well, let's just deal individually with whatever we are going through in our bodies, and if we're able to find that or regain that balance in our own body, we're doing it for the whole of humankind. And I think it's from my perspective, it would be very naive of me to create give a very specific judgment in regards, oh well, that illness is specifically because you have father issues, or because you live below an electrical pylon, or because you got the wrong vaccination, or because your neighbor this or that, or blah blah blah. Because I believe there's so many circumstances that create the present moment and the present manifestation of who we are, that there's not one answer, but there's probably 1,000 million aspects that have created the situation that we're in right now. So if we can focus more than in finding the reasons of why this happened, in focus on how I bring harmony again into my life. A little bit what you were talking before about the doors. How can I find the doors in my life that are going to take me to my destiny, that are going to put me in the flow of the river, as opposed to in front of an energy that's going to destroy me.